Hi, everybody. Today, I'm going to talk a little bit about, let's back up, the metric conversions. You should have spent the first part of class here learning about how to do unit conversions with American units, pounds, feet, etc. And we are going to focus a little bit on metric conversions. You will need your handy dandy blue bookmark and your note sheet because we are going to follow along together today. So here on the top here, I've got the metric prefix chart. So some of these we're familiar with already. We've heard of kilo, we've heard of deci, maybe. We've heard of centi and milli for sure, right? So these are things that we have already heard of. And now we're going to put them into the context of conversions. So we know that we can measure grams, meters, liters. Those are our base units. Grams, meters, liters. Those are the base units in the metric prefix chart. Deci, centi, milli, yada, yada. These are all prefixes like centigrams, milliliters, kilometers, or kilometers, however you want to pronounce it. Okay. These six here, I guess seven if you include the base, right? Including milli down here. These are the most used metric prefixes in science, specifically in chemistry. And I will ask you guys to memorize them. You will need to memorize these 6, 7. Hopefully I have an easy trick for you to remember. So if you can remember the symbols, kilometer is K, hecto is H, deca is capital D, deci is D, base unit doesn't have a prefix, right? Then there's a mnemonic device. King Henry died by drinking chocolate milk. King Henry died by drinking chocolate milk. Or, my coworker taught me this one last year, kiss her daily because divorce costs money. So whichever one you choose to use, those will help you to remember the order of the prefixes from biggest to smallest. Then over here, hopefully you can remember 3, 2, 1. So it goes 3, 2, 1, 0, -1, -2, -3. So from 3 to -3, King Henry died by drinking chocolate milk, or kiss her daily because divorce costs money. You will also, while you're doing practice, have access to your blue bookmark here, but we're going to want to focus on those metric prefixes for our test next week. So handy dandy cheat sheet here, but you do want to try to memorize those prefixes with the power or the amount as soon as possible. So let's look at what the purpose of the metric system is really for. Right? We use the metric system and its prefixes to make sure that a number is more appropriate in size. Right? We want to make sure that things are an appropriate size. And I have a little example here. Does it make more sense to say that you ran a 5K race, 5 kilometers? Or does it make more sense to say that you ran a 5 million millimeter race? Now, it might sound more impressive to say 5 million, but then you toss in millimeter and people are like, huh? The purpose of the metric system it's got an appropriate prefix for an appropriate size. 5K sounds a lot better. 5 kilometers sounds a lot better than 5 million millimeters. And it's really easy to convert between those metric units because the different units are just a multiple of 10. So if we look back up here, kilo is 1,000, hecto is 100, deca 10, base unit is 1, and then 0.1, 0.01, 0.001. Right, so those are just powers of 10, similar to scientific notation, which we learned about last class. Right, so it's just nice to use the multiples of 10 for metric system. But what do those conversions look like? Let's do a few practice problems. Now, remember that you have access to your blue bookmark, and that should help you, especially with this first problem here. Oops. It says, how many grams are there in 439,000 grams? This is supposed to say milligrams. My bad. How many grams are there in 439,000 milligrams? So let's start with that number that we have. We know that there are 439,000 milligrams, and we want to convert that to grams. So just as we've been practicing, you guys are going to set up a little conversion factor so that our units can cancel out. But we need some way of getting from grams to milligrams or milligrams to grams. So you're going to look at your blue bookmark and you'll see that the second one down says that 1 base equals 1,000 milli. 1 base equals 1,000 milli. That's going to be our conversion factor. 1 base equals 1,000 milli. Oops. So now when we set up our conversion, we know that the milligrams have to go on the bottom because milligrams have to cancel out. And there are 1,000, that's our conversion factor. And then 1 of whatever the base unit is, which in this case is grams. So we've got 439,000 milligrams times 1 gram over 1,000 milligrams. I fully believe in our ability to multiply fractions here. 439,000 times 1 is 439,000. Then we take that and we divide by 1,000. You should get 439 grams. And I know this all works out because milligrams and milligrams cancels out. The only thing you're left with is grams. So that's how you know you're left with grams here at the end. Let's do another one. I've got 0.025 centiliters. Centi is C, liters is capital L. And I want to convert that into liters. So how am I going to set up my units here? If I've got centiliters on the top, I must have centiliters on the bottom. I'm going to put liters on the top. Again, I'm going to look at my handy dandy bookmark for anything it says about centi and base, because liters is a base unit. Once you know, the very first one says that 1 base equals 100 centi. So I'm going to plug that in here. And let's see, I've got 100 centiliters on the bottom, and I'm going to go to 1 liter on the top. All right. So again, I've got 0.025 centiliters times 1. That's 0.025. Okay. And I'm going to divide that by 100. So you should get 0.00025. Now it's happened to work out that we've been going from the small unit to the big unit, but it works both directions. So it's not always going to be a 1 on the top and a big number on the bottom. Not always going to work out like that. Something to keep in mind. Let's keep doing some examples here and see what we can digest. Wow, my numbers make perfect sense. 1, 2, 4. Just down. Get it together. Obviously, I deleted a question. All right, so we've got 750,000 milliliters, and I want to get that to kiloliters. If you look on the blue bookmark, there's nothing that goes straight from milli to kilo. But that doesn't mean we can't do this. We can do a couple steps. We can do 2 steps because we can go from milli to the base and then base to kilo. So this is going to be a 2-step problem. In the first step, we're going to go from milliliters to the base. When in doubt, just go to the base, right? That's a great first step. So the base unit here is liters. According to my blue bookmark, there are 1,000 milliliters in every 1 liter. But I'm going to have to set up another step here because I don't want to end up in liters. I want to end up in kiloliters. So liters has to go on the bottom and kiloliters has to go on the top. Now, hopefully this is going to make sure, yep, here we go. All those units cancel out and I'll be left with kiloliters. once I plug in this last piece of information, according to my bookmark, there are 1,000 of the base for every 1 liter. Now it's time for me to do some math. All right. I'm going to simplify this a little bit for us. Of course, there go the lights. That's just how it works. You guys know that. I've got the top here, 750,000 times 1 times 1. That's just 750,000. 1,000 times 1,000 is 1 million. So I'm going to do 750,000 divided by 1 million. And I should get 0.75. And the units you end up with are kiloliters. Kiloliters. Remember that you can pause the video and rewatch any sections that you feel so inclined to. Right? Just ask Mr. Klebold or the sub, whoever's manning the computer. All right, let's try one that's not on the blue bookmark. Here I've got 2,485,000,000 bytes. Bytes like data bytes, not B-I-T-E-S, like mosquito bites. This would be a lot of mosquito bites. Can you imagine? Oh my gosh. All right, so I've got this many bytes, and I'm going to go from bytes. So bytes is going to go on the bottom. I'm going to go to gigabytes. That's not on my blue card. But that doesn't mean that we can't do the problem, okay? Especially on these practice problems, you might have some that aren't on the blue bookmark. All right, let's go back to our charts here. On the chart, we see that giga is up here and bytes is the base unit. That's down here. To solve this problem, we are going to use the powers of 10. You're going to take the top power of 10 and subtract the bottom power of 10. This is going to be 10 to the something. 10 to the 9 minus 0. What's 9 minus 0? 9. Okay. So that power of 10 is how many of the base units there are in every 1 gigabyte. You might not have noticed, but the bigger unit in metric conversions always gets the 1. 1 gram. Grams are bigger than milligrams. 1 liter. Liters are bigger than centiliters. Right? Liter over milliliters. Like the bigger unit always gets the 1. So here I'm going to put a 1 next to gigabytes because giga is bigger than bytes. Then on the bottom, I'm going to put a power of 10. To find that power of 10, right, giga is 10 to the 9th. The base unit is 10 to the 0. So I do 9 minus 0. 9 minus 0 is just 9. So that's how you figure out what goes on the bottom. 10 to the 9th. And then we just solve. So if you don't know how exponents work on your calculator, that's okay. 10 to the 9th is the same thing as 10 with 9 zeros after it. Thank you, scientific notation practice that you guys definitely did. So we're going to do 2,485,000,000 divided by 1 billion. And you should end up with, if I can do my math correctly, 2.485. Maybe. I can't even do it on my calculator, but if math is hard. All right, I'm pretty sure that's what we're going to get here. 2.485 gigabytes. Because bytes and bytes cancel out with each other. All right. Last problem here. Stick with me. We're going to do another one where we have to do the power of 10. It says convert 478,090 micrograms. Micro has this funny symbol. It's like a weird U. micrograms, and we are going to convert that into centigrams. So I know that micrograms is going to go on the bottom, centigrams is going to go on the top. Which of those units is bigger? Let's look back at our charts here. Micro is down here. This one is micro, and centi is up here. So centi is 10 to the negative 2. Micro is 10 to the negative 6, which means centi is bigger. That means that centi gets the 1. Centi gets the 1. This is going to be some power of 10. Right? We said that centi is 10 to the negative 2. Micro is 10 to the negative 6. So we have to do negative 2 minus negative 6. Oh, here comes math skills. Negative 2 minus negative 6. Subtracting a negative, that's like adding a positive. So negative 2 plus 6 is 4. So I'm going to put a 4 as the power of 10 here. So then I take my 478,090 and I divide by 10 to the 4th, which is the same thing as 10 with 4 zeros, or 10,000. And you should end up with 47, wow, I can't read my calculator, 0.8090. That 0 doesn't really matter, I guess. 47.809. And that should be centigrams because micrograms cancel out. Now, if you found that those last two problems were a little bit harder, that's totally okay. We are mostly going to focus on the kilo to down to milli conversions. But these ones are there for those of you that need a little bit of an extra challenge. But if you get stuck on those on the metric conversion practice, no worries. You can just ask Mr. Klebel or the sub to help you guys out. Sorry about the lights here on the last bit. Don't even know if you can see me anyway, actually. Anyway, I'll see you guys when I get back. Let me know if you have any questions.